All right, I've got another video for you here. Of course, as you read here, I'm talking about the Rosary today, and usually I'll do my videos on life experiences. Going through my daily life, and I'll see something, and I'm like, well, I need to look that up or look this up or things. And I'll do a video on it sometimes. Now, this is one of those times. Now, last couple days ago, I was driving down the road, and I saw this big sign that says, "Pray the Rosary." And it made me think about something. For the last several years, I would see, being at Walmart or, the grocery store or whatever, and you see these bumper stickers that say, "Pray the Rosary." And I know that's a Catholic thing and whatever, and I don't pray the Rosary. I don't get into all that. But I went ahead and went online and figured I would do a video of it. Those that don't know anything about the Rosary, I wanted to, do what I could to make it clear. And I got information, and whenever I do information, I want to be 100% accurate as possible. And I went to, the Catholic websites, the actual official websites, and I found this. And I found the information here, which I'll share with you in a second here. But I also went to other official Catholic websites, and they all lined up the same. So I was like, okay, great. So here's how they pray the Rosary. Number one is to make the sign of the cross. You know how they put it on their, make the sign of the cross on their chest or whatever. They got to do that. And then they say the Apostles' Creed. Now, the Apostles' Creed is not in the Bible, but people can say that it is, because what they're stating in the Apostles' Creed, you can find the verses, and you can find where it's in the Bible. But the Apostles' Creed is actually somebody pulled, stuff out of the Bible and says, this is our creed. This is what we believe. And, for the most part, it's true. The stuff in the Bible, but they also mention the Catholic Church, and they're pushing you in a way to where the only way to salvation is the Catholic Church. It's the way they're pushing it. But the Apostles' Creed does have true information in it that's biblical, but they're using that to add the Catholic Church in it and stuff. So I don't actually do the Apostles' Creed at all, but like I said, there's a lot of things in the Apostles' Creed it's biblical and it lines up with the Bible. I say that. And second, it says, of course they say the Our Father, and three, they say 3 Hail Marys for faith, hope, and charity. And four they say glory be. 5, announce first mystery, and say Our Father. They have different mysteries. Now, in the Bible, there are mysteries that were given to Apostle Paul. There's 7 mysteries given to the Apostle Paul. And if I didn't do a video, which I hope that I did, if I didn't do a video on that, I'll look back on my channel, and if I didn't, I'll do a video on Paul's 7 mysteries. There's several mysteries. It's interesting because when I get down to that, there's a few mysteries that Paul did, that Paul talked about, that revealed to us that the Catholics reject. So I don't even know what in the world I'm talking about when it comes to the mysteries. Anyway, and in the 6th step, you say 10 Hail Marys while meditating on the mystery. And 7, say the glory be, as he did in the 4th step. And 8 says, now announce next mystery, say Our Father, repeat step 6 and step 8. And it says, repeat step 6 and step 8 as you continue through the remaining mysteries. Now, step 9 says, say closing prayer, the Holy Queen, in final prayer. And verse 10 is make sign of the cross. Of course, I'm assuming they mean that, like, they're going to do an intro to this rosary with the sign of the cross on our chest, and they're going to outro it with the sign of the cross on our chest, which is interesting. Now, what they're doing is they're repeating it over and over again. They're doing this over and over again as many times as they want. I don't know. But it's interesting because that's kind of like saying the same thing. And it's kind of repetitive. But if we look in Matthew, Jesus is speaking about that. In Matthew, Jesus says this about praying. When you pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, but they think that for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be not ye therefore unto like them, for your Father knoweth what things you need before you ask. And repetitive praying, it's funny because you do something repetitive like that, and you're praying, it's not being, you're not being meaningful. You're not being, it's kind of weird. Would you go up to anybody and just say the same thing over? Hey, how you doing? And just say the same thing every single day? Of course not. That's stupid, you know. But, you know, when you talk to the Lord, you can't really pray wrong, but the Lord tells you not to be repetitive. If daily life changes, and you have different needs in your life you need to pray for, sure. And when you pray, you should pray for, the present time and the future time and things like that. We should, be praying for fruits of the Spirit. Our apostle, the Apostle Paul, talks about the fruits of the Spirit we should have. Like long-suffering, temperance, patience, and things like that. And definitely charity. But we have to, we can't be repetitive. It's just like robotic. It really gets no point done, and Jesus doesn't like it. Jesus said, what the Rosary is doing is something don't do. Because Rosary is repeating over and over again. And they're using their beads and everything else to do that. Now, when I started studying more about the Rosary, I stumbled on a few other things, which is strange. And mind you, they're talking about the mysteries. Now, see, when I think of mysteries in the Bible, I think of Paul's. The 7 mystery Paul gave us. And I'm like thinking, okay, that's what they're talking about, but it can't be. Because the Catholics outrightly reject the rapture. They do not believe in a rapture. They believe that they're just waiting for Jesus to appear. Well, if they're going to wait for that, they just might accept the Antichrist and think he's Jesus, like a lot of people will in tribulation. So you got to be careful. There is, in fact, a pre-tribulation rapture. If I got enough room here. If you read, which I've done videos about the pre-tribulation rapture many times. If you go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15, start in verse 50 and read. Paul's clearly talking about a pre-tribulation rapture. Another one is, I think it's 2 Corinthians. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm right here. 2 Corinthians, it talks about, 2 Corinthians chapter 2. I just said Corinthians. I meant Thessalonians. Chapter 2. And it starts clear, like, from verse 1 clear down. Actually, read verse 2, whole chapter. Because it talks about, not only that, Paul gives kind of a date, not like an exact day. But he talks about when the rapture will happen, as soon as the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition, the Antichrist meaning. There's so many other, parts of the Bible where it talks about a rapture, and a pre-tribulation rapture at that. And these are 2 verses to get you started if you don't know about the rapture. And I've done other videos about the rapture. I completely, believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Another thing that Catholics do not believe in is dispensations. I've done, talked about dispensations many times. But I need to do a video on dispensations because dispensations are really helpful to understand the Bible. And it's funny because the Bible actually gives you the definition of a dispensation. And it's given to us by Paul, which is interesting. If you look in the book of Hebrews, if you look at Hebrews 1:1, you get the definition of a dispensation. God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. That's what a dispensation is. In sundry times, sundry is different. In diverse, different or various ways. In diverse, of course, different manners, which is ways. Spake in time past to the prophets by the fathers. By the fathers to the prophets. And it kind of comes into this. God goes back to dealing with things. Basically the history of the world is God, having a people, and then they reject God, and they get away from God. And God leaves them alone for a while. And then finally God goes back to dealing with these people, and he favors them again. And then they'll act out again and rebel, and then God backs away again. It's what it is right now. And then God is soon going to go back to dealing with the Jews. People believe that God's done with the Jews. That's what the Catholics also believe. There's a God, they believe that God is done with the Jews, and the Catholics are like, well, all the things that were promised to the Jews are now ours, which is completely foolishness. God is going to go back to the Jews, and the Jews will get their promised land, which is the millennial kingdom. God has promised the Jews a land for thousands of years, and God is going to fulfill that promise. And the Jews will get their land in the millennial kingdom. God is not done with the Jews by any means. And another thing is, though, there will be a coming time, and I've mentioned this many times about the end, when it comes to tribulation. And tribulation in Revelation talks about the mark of the beast. And the mark of the beast will be, I don't know when it's going to be, but I think it's going to be very soon, though. And that's why I try to do videos about that. I'm trying to look for a verse here real quick. It talks about you get a mark in your hand, either in your right hand or your forehead, and you can't buy or sell without it. And if you reject the mark, you have to be killed for Jesus. Or if you can endure to the end, which Jesus tells people to do, to endure to the end of tribulation if they can. It's going to be a very hard time. And it'd be especially hard for a Gentile to be saved. Most Gentiles will probably just take the mark of the beast. But can Gentiles get saved in tribulation? Probably, but I think it'd be tough. And that's another thing. The Catholics do not believe in the mark of the beast. See, it's funny to me. I'm not trying to speak out against Catholics. I just want to be helpful. I don't want to come off like mean or rude or anything like that. But when it comes to a lot of the future beliefs of the Catholics, they strangely line up with the Jehovah's Witnesses in a lot of ways. Catholics do not believe in a rapture. They just wait for the kingdom to come. So is the Jehovah's Witnesses exactly. I don't know what Jehovah's Witnesses feel about dispensations. They probably don't believe in them at all. But the Catholics don't, which is really upsetting to know that. Then the mark of the beast, they don't believe in either one. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses believe the mark of the beast happened in the early 20th century, like almost 100 years ago, which makes absolutely no sense. But it's kind of interesting how that works. But there will be a mark of the beast. It will be a physical time. Now, when it comes to the book of Revelation, most Catholics take Revelation as just symbolic. It's just symbolic and something that's not true events. It's just something that's symbolic and just something that's kind of like a spiritual kind of thing to where it's not real, which is another thing. That's also what the Jehovah's Witnesses, for the most part, believe. Loosely based, but it's really interesting. But I just want to say, if you're doing a rosary, it's really, Jesus does not want you doing a rosary. And that's like the foundation of the Catholic belief. They believe in these things. They're taking things out of context. They have the people go into like a confessional booth, and they're taking context away from the book of James. And I completely, totally believe the book of James is for Jews in the tribulation. It makes perfect sense. James is literally quoting Jesus almost all the way through the book of James. And it's just something that really doesn't fit for Christians today, because there's things that James says that our apostle says the opposite of. So who's our apostle? Apostle Paul. So we follow him for doctrine today. There's some things from James you can take away from, like chapter 3 of James, where he's talking about to watch your mouth and be careful what you say. That's something we can take away from James. That's a good message for anybody. But doctrinally speaking, the book of James is for Jews only in the tribulation, but Catholics, like other religions, also like Jehovah's Witnesses, are actually taking those and applying them to themselves, which doesn't really work well today. But that's what I would say about the rosary. I don't have a whole lot to say about it because it's pretty much a straightforward kind of a message. But should you pray the rosary? Of course not. But that's just what it is. Now, if you're a Catholic, I don't mean to offend you. That's just what the Bible says. And that's my video for now. God bless.